I am DM Zone. This is Games Oasis. We're going to talk about henchmen. So you're seeing a little bit more how the sausage is made, how I decide certain things like who my porters are, who my torchbearers are. This is a live early prep that will lead hopefully to more streamlined actual play in the moment, and takes a lot of this out of my hands and puts it into the hands of like whatever randomness you want to call this. Let me go ahead and just set the premise real quick, and we'll get into this a little sooner. So, porters. Porters are one of those selected groups that is going to be strong with a secondary of higher constitution. If they're not strong, if they're not able to carry things, then they're not going to carry something. That doesn't mean there's not a place in this world for them. What that means is that the selection of people that would be considered porters are going to tend to be stronger. People who tend to be weaker tend not to do hard working jobs, or they get stronger and become porters, or whatever they might become. So, sages would be wise and intelligent, because you don't want someone who can't read and is illiterate trying to be a sage. They wouldn't do well. Masons are going to be strong and, have constitution. But those two selections don't really matter at this point. The next thing I'm going to talk about in the next video is going to be a torchbearer. And like I'll talk more about in that video, torchbearers don't really have to have any stats. I'm just rolling stats for them so that we have them in case we need them in a very critical moment. We know it's already defined. We know we didn't put a guy with a 3 strength in a place to try and hold doors open. That type of stuff. So yeah, let me go ahead and get into this a little bit more. So because of that, porters are going to have one of those focus stats that I talked about in the character creation, where I'm going to roll 2d6 plus 6, making the real total for porters to be between 8 and 18. And then all the other stats are going to be 3d6. So certain classes will have the primary roll stat, like ROLE, not ROLL. That's going to be 2d6 plus 6. So, yes, that's how that's going to work. For races, I'm going to roll a d8. Depending on what I roll, will be the type of human or demi-human it is. Human will be selected in the first roll. To let you know, I do have 5 different types of humans. There is no difference between my humans. This is purely a heritage, culture, and appearance thing. So I have 2 different types of white, per se, races. One is more curly-haired and heavier set, and then the other one is usually more straight-haired, and they're neither are one really like taller or bigger or whatever. Hair color doesn't really matter. They range the gamut of hair colors. Eye color doesn't really matter. Both these groups are so diverse in what they do and their relationships, that unless you get into a very specific clan that has interbred or is that way, all these groups don't have a persistent thing other than the length and not the length, but the straightness of their hair, essentially. Both groups grow beards. Both groups have blondes, have brown hairs, black hairs, red heads. So that part doesn't matter. Getting outside of that, I have a group of blacks. Think of like a lot of African tribal blacks. Not necessarily that they live that way now. They have different levels of civilization. So a person who comes from the most primitive type of black tribe can be found in the most high-tech city if that's where they took their life. There's no anything of that nature. Same thing with islanders, and same thing with desert people. I wrote desert people just because it's a hot topic for this time of year. It's a hot topic in the last, I don't know, 50 years. So I'm just going to go ahead and list them as Black, Islander, and Desert, not really go with a specific culture or group, and kind of let those show up if they show up, how they show up, not in a whole group, but like this group of NPCs all come from this town and share these whatever, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, trying to be very sensitive in those type of things, but I wanted to have 5 different types of humans, and I feel like that was literally the best way. Now, if I roll a 1, then I got demi-humans. I have 2 different types of dwarves. There are more hill dwarves than there are mountain dwarves. I've talked about the fact that mountain dwarves are very rare in my world. I have halflings, which are the largest of the groups by individual groups, but they share the same number of chance as dwarves. It's just there's 2 different types of dwarves. Technically, there's more than one type of halfling, but I only allow one type of halfling to really be played. Then we have 2 different types of elves: high elves, wood elves. Very generic. Again, it comes down to the initial culture of the group, their belief systems, this type of stuff for more definition on that. So now we know that. Let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, guys, I'm going to share my screen real quick here. You can see I've got my mouse over here. I got my Excel program, whatever this might be here. And then over here, I got a place for dice to be rolled. Let me get some dice. We roll my blue plastic dice here, or polyurethanes, the polyhedral poly. We roll these blue dice here because they show the pips really well. So one of the things I've learned while making these videos is that I am not happy with the D&D dice. That is much harder to tell that is a 7 than it is to tell that is a 6. And I don't want to be so zoomed in that you can't see anything else. This is going to be my camera, both where the miniatures are being moved. And so whatnot, like I got some partially painted bugbears over here. I don't want to be so close you can't see that that's a bugbear or see what else is around it. And I don't want my dice unreadable. I want people to be able to read it. Like you can see that's a 7 from certain angles, but you start getting in other directions, and is it a 2? Is it a 1? Like which one was which? What's that? Is that a 3 maybe? I mean, so you get the general idea. So I'm going to be ordering some oversized dice. These dice here are 16 millimeters. The dice I'm going to be ordering are 25, so that's almost 50 or 100% bigger. And then I'm going to be rolling the dice I need so you can see them a little bit better, and we'll go from there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to worry about names later. That'll put a little bit of randomness to it, and I'll show that at the very end of the video. But we're going to quickly go over this real quick. Let me get a D8. See if this gray one shows up better. Yeah, you can see that better. All right. First one, we're going to start with a 7. So he is a human. This type of human is an islander. Once I get these in here, they'll start to populate faster. He's going to be a porter, so he's going to get 2d6 plus 6 strength. So he's going to have a 16 strength. And we'll go ahead and roll his 5 dexterity, his 11 intelligence, and his 12 wisdom. His constitution I want high. This guy is not going to be a good porter. And he will have a 14 charisma. Next one, 2. So he will be an A human. Okay. And then, actually I'm going to change that like that too. Now let's go ahead and get a strength. Another 16 strength. That is awesome. 15 dexterity. This guy has real potential. That is a 12. Why could I get stats like this in the PCs? Good lord. 9. And if things go the way of the PCs, I'll have like a 6. No, I have a 10 Constitution. Now, some might ask, why does Constitution have anything to do with being a porter? So there is a rule that states, 3, going to be the same human type. And he'll have a 13. So there's a rule in original Dungeons and Dragons that states, so I can get to it faster, 13 strength. Okay, so there's a rule that states on the party can travel 5 turns inside a dungeon or 5 days in the wilderness, and then on the 6th turn or day, they have to rest or they suffer a level of exhaustion. If you have, in this case, a porter, and you're carrying stuff, and you have a 13 strength, and you have a 13 Constitution, then you can go 6 turns or 6 days before you need a rest, which means you're never waiting on the porter. However, the islander with a 3 Constitution that has like a neg 2 or neg 3 or whatever that is, basically means every 3 or 4 turns, 2 or 3 turns, you have to stop because he's exhausted. He's got no endurance at all. So the ideal would be having a high Constitution and strength for that particular class. And of course, that means you pay them better for that. Wow. 16. And there, 12. 8. And the reason why I'm rolling stats now, another 10, is because in the future, if this guy ever becomes a party member, I want to have the foundation for what their stats are. Ooh, I need to also roll whether they're male or female. Completely forgot that. Make this. I'm going to say this is a 50-50. Put an S there. I don't think I'll write that word either. Okay, so 4, 5, and 6 is male. Female. I'm going to put a G for gender. Female. Male. Yes. Cool. All right, so I'm going to roll a D6 with my D8. So I know this is going to be a black male. Okay. Then we'll roll 2D6 for another 13. I actually feel like I can streamline this one more way. We have a 13. We have a 12. We have a 5. We have an 11. Look at this first dice roll. So we are 4, which puts us at type inhuman. We are a female, and we have a 12 strength. And we have a 12 dexterity. And we have, wow, a 12 intelligence. And we have a 9 wisdom. And we have an 11 constitution. None of my dudes or dudettes are high constitution yet. So it's going to be female. It's going to be an inhuman, type inhuman again. And we're going to have a 14. And then we'll have a 12. And then we'll have an 11. And we'll have a 13. Then we will have a 10. So this is going to be a male. 5 is type N. And we're going to have an 8 strength. We're going to have a really high dexterity. What is that? A 13. Not as high as I was thinking it was. That's high. Okay. Smart guy, why are you a porter? Because you're extremely wise. That's why you're a porter. What in the world's going on with that stat group? Apparently you wanted to train legs this day. And you convinced people it was a good idea. Interesting. Alright. So this is going to be a desert. It's going to be a male. Alright. And then it has he has a 16 strength. That is a 15. Oh, that is an 18. My goodness. That is a 10. Finally, that is a 13. And that is a 12. Okay, guys, so I've had a couple pretty lucky rolls on intelligence and wisdom. And really with that early one with dexterity, 15, 16 dexterity, just because a person starts out as a porter doesn't mean that's what they're going to be doing for their whole life. I kind of see character progression on the NPC side of things like that too. But I will make it random so we don't have any favorites per se. Though we will have, for sure have favorites. But it will be organic favorites. It won't be designed favorites. This will be a type A human. I have not rolled a demi-human yet, which is fine. Just mildly surprising. We have a demi-human. It'll be a female. Let me roll this again. Female number 4 is a halfling. And we have a starting strength of 12. So if you were to ask me if I'd have a female halfling porter, I would be like, no, I don't plan to ever have a female halfling porter. Not because I don't believe in them, but because that's a pretty far out there role to do. Now, if you'd ask if that halfling porter would have a high dex, I'd probably say yes, just because halflings in general have a high dex, but I think that's just the spirit of the dice talking here. 14 constitution, very nice. We have almost got our first +1 in both those stats. We have another decent stat of things. Okay. So we have a male. This will be type 6, which is going to be a black male. And now we need to roll his other stats. Decent. Very decent. Oh, I was really hoping for a high intelligence here, too. 9 is good, though. Not bad. Ooh, 14. That's pretty good. Get a decent constitution out of this. Oh my goodness. This guy's a god compared to what I've rolled so far. Oh. I have a cleric that would gladly just take it, any of those stats except for the 9 maybe, and put it anywhere because his high stat is a 12. Holy cow. I'm so glad I made this video now. Okay, so we have another female demi-human. Number 2. This would be a hill dwarf. Female hill dwarf with a 14 strength. Man, I'm just blown away by the 18 and a 17 charisma and a 17 con. Like, I'm so envious of that character right now. I can't even get past it. That thing has shook me. And it has a decent wisdom too. Shooketh. But, to be fair, rolling 20 characters, that's bound to happen. To have someone with a high stat now, that combination's a little rare. I probably won't see that again, ever. Alright, so we have another islander, a male islander with a 13 strength. So we got the first part. Nice 14. What is that? 16? A 9. Come on. Not quite. 11. 11. Okay, so this is going to be a type A human. You know, for being 50-50, I have probably more females than I do males. 1, 2. I guess I take that back. It just seems like there's a lot of females. I have exactly 50%. That's my apologies. Hope that's not me being biased in some way. It just feels like I've rolled a lot of females. Maybe it's just because of the 2 demi-humans both being females. All right, so we got 12, 13, 5. Oh my goodness. She's not going to be a cheap porter, that's for sure. Oh, she's not friendly at all with her 5 charisma. She's that one named Olga. Matter of fact, I might just put that in there. All right, so we have another type A. This is a male with 12 strength, 14 dexterity, a 13 intelligence, 11, 16 con, very nice, 13. Oh, we got another 18 though. So it's going to be a female. Interesting. Was my other 18 female too? No, it was a male. Okay. This is going to be a black human. Interesting. Both my two 18s are both black. Very cool. It's going to be a 10. Oh, I was hoping for higher strength, intelligence. I want that high strength, high intelligence porter for that weirdness. 15 wisdom. Oh, again with the 3. It's so brutal. I've rolled that twice. Both on con. Ugh. With a 4 charisma. Just so I don't seem like I don't have any other 5 charisma, right? That's 4 or 5 charisma. That's I want to make sure I'm not picking on the females in this. I'm not. Okay, so this one here is going to be female. It's going to be a type N human with a 12 strength. 11. 14. Nice. Excuse me. I don't know where that came from. It's going to be a type N. 14. Ooh, 16 wisdom. Okay. Oof, 16. Okay, and charisma. A 7. I'm going to put over here. I want to kind of set some ground rules for that real quick. So, any of the demi-humans are going to be paid more because they all have their benefits. Whether you're paying a porter who's a halfling to travel in the wilderness so your stuff is more safe because they're able to hide better, whether you're paying for a dwarf or elf for the infravision, those are just going to pay more. Now, having a good combination of stats will pay more too. So I'm going to basically have everyone gets paid 1 unless they have a 13 strength and con, a 16 strength and con would be +2 instead of +1, and an 18 in both will be plus, I'm going to say 5 because good Lord, no one does that. Okay. And that's basically how that's going to go. So, so the most you can have is +6. So that'd be a 7. And I'm going to do that at the end. Let's go ahead and roll these last 2 and I'll figure out that. So we have a female type A. With a 13 strength. With a 13 dex. With an 8 intelligence. With a 13 wisdom. Bom, bom, bom. 8 con. I'm going to put 1 more plus in there. +1 if you have a 16 charisma, because you get along better with people and people just want to pay you more. There is a bit of a factor of that. So we're going to have a male. This will be a type N. 13. This will be a 14. Be an 11. This will be a 10. There we go. It's going to be a 16. And that's a 15. Okay. Human. Negative. -1 for a 6 con. Four to 6 con. -3 for a 3 con. I think that's the way it works. Okay. Three con, human, decent strength. Yeah. Still, we're going to say -2. Oh, first thing I got to do. First thing I'm doing is changing all the numbers in this area to be text, not a value that they're trying to like add and subtract. Those technically don't count as numbers right now. Those count as letters. All right, we have another human. He is pretty standard. I guess I could see a 16 con or 16 strength being worth more, but I don't know. I'm not going to get into that right now. Another 1. Sadly, another 1. This guy's worth a 2. 1. So this one's a 2 because it's a halfling. Oof. Okay. So 16 to 17 strength and con is a +2. This is a human, so it's going to be a 3. Oh, 4. High charisma. It's a dwarf, so it'll be a 2. 1. We have a 2 because of constitution and strength. Not doing negative for charisma. Porters aren't exactly known for having to speak a lot. This one has a -2 as a porter. Probably take him as a fighter. He's really strong. Open that door. But you have problems. And you'd have to figure out what percentile that is. So 1. So this one here is going to be a 2. 1 and 2. All right. Okay, guys, so this has been my video on porters. I'm going to go ahead and do one more roll real quick. I'm going to figure out which porter this is, and then I'm going to replace that porter by making a, so I have a list of 20. Then in the future, if I ever need to roll a porter, I'm going to roll a d20, and I'll go ahead and add that to the, oh, it'd be quick. It just, boom, and it's added to the group, and we already have all the stats and everything figured out. This is something that as you go into it with levels, I'll explore personality traits and this type of stuff. These guys are meant to be in the background, just kind of doing a thing. But I wanted to be able to have stats and an understanding of what they are at the most surface level before we explore maybe what they are later on. So that's what we have here. All right, let me do my dice roll quick, and we'll go from there. All righty, here we go. No whammies, right? That is a 9. If you can see that very well. Yeah, you can see it a little bit. That is a 9. This one right here. This will be my porter. He'll be a human, type A male, with an 11 strength. We got 15 intelligence and a 13 wisdom. 12 con, so not bad. Very good stats. Highest con in the group. Cool. All right, well, let me go ahead and get into this, and I'll do my results and have all the names up next time. Okay, guys, so the last video you may have seen was about my porters. I wanted to create 20 porters and then actually create one for the group, so a total of 21, because the party was going to start out with a porter, and I feel like that was very important to show how I do it, why it's random, these type of things. But it's kind of like that sausage that no one really wants to watch every time. They just kind of want to know it's random, and they want to believe it's random. So that's what that video was sort of for. This one's going to be the same thing. I'm going to be doing replacement videos every now and then where I'll go through and create like 5 or whatever and add it to the list, and then we'll refresh the list essentially, and that will be where that goes. I'm also going to be probably eliminating some off of the list, either because of bad performance or because they're no longer porters or they're doing something else type of thing. And the same thing is going to be true with a torchbearer. I'm trying to run a campaign where there's a calendar, so with actual in-game time. So if 4 years goes by, you're not going to have the same group of porters and torchbearers. Maybe a torchbearer become a porter, or maybe become a cook, or maybe they become adventurers. We don't know. And that's kind of why I'm doing this way, because I feel like it feels more organic than just to be arbitrary and say this thing happened. But let me go ahead and get to my per se Excel sheet so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to take a couple d6, and the last one I used these dice, and this was my gender dice, so I'll keep that as my gender dice. I'm going to go ahead and go with this, because unlike the other one, when I rolled all these together, I don't have a focus stat, so I'm not going to have a 2d6 for any of the stats for the torchbearer. Matter of fact, they don't need an 8 or higher in anything to be a decent torchbearer. So I'm going to roll these two together, assign whatever their gender and whatever race they are, and then we'll go ahead and do the 3d6 across the board in order. The order being strength, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, con, and charisma. That is the way it was in old D&D as far as I remember it. And so that's the order in which I'll be rolling it here. So let me go over and talk about the race. So I have 5 different types of humans. 2 of them are white. One's got curly hair, one's got long hair. Nothing else really matters beyond that. Some are blue-eyed, some are brown-eyed, some are black-eyed, some have black hair, blonde hair, red hair. They all have a mixture of that. Then I have some blacks. I have some islanders, and then I have some desert people. If you were to go, I didn't say this in this first video, but I feel like it's important. The area in which the game is being played currently is predominantly white. There's these 2 different groups of white humans, and then there are lesser chances of the black, the islander, and the desert. If you were to go to the desert where these people lived, and in their area, it would be inverted. There'd be more than one type of desert people for sure, and then the white people would be rarely seen within this, and they might just be listed as white people instead of having multiple groups. So because they are in a predominantly white area, the focus will be more on that. It does not discount. I have areas where I have islanders, I have areas where I have blacks, and I have areas where I have desert, and in those areas it is considered reversed. All right, so if I roll a 1, then I can get hill dwarves and halflings. They have a combined total that's equal to each other. However, there are more hill dwarves than there are mountain dwarves. The least common of the demi-humans are the elves, and there's 2 types of elves too. And the only reason why I really list them is their approach to, or philosophy, I guess you could say, to how you interact with them is very different. They have very different origins, very different thoughts, plans, those type of things. Okay. With porters, I had different pay values. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of those tabs up real quick. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this started. We're going to burn through these 20 real quick. The patron that they're traveling with is giving them a torchbearer and a porter while they go do this thing to rescue basically a farm of one of the people within this area. So we have a demi-human straight off the bat, and this is going to be a male. 4, 5, and 6 are male. So this is going to be a male. That is a 6. 6 is a high elf. Now we're going to go ahead and roll our 3d6. Excuse me, pencil. Or not pencil, but paintbrush. So we have an 8 strength. We have a 7 dexterity. We have a 7 intelligence. I was concerned why an elf would be so early going on to this, but with those stats the way they are, it makes a lot of sense so far. We're going to have a 12 con. Interesting. I know I said you could have an 8 and everything and it wouldn't be the end of the world. I really wasn't trying to push that. So we have the most mediocre of any type of elf I've ever seen in my life. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one. It's going to be an A, type A human female. Let's go ahead and get the strength. We have, wow. It's like I'm rolling a PC here, the way I've been rolling these stats. We have a 9, 12. We have an 11. We have a 6. We have a 7. This is PC material right here. If you don't know, my PC characters came out terrible for their constitution across the board. Okay, so this is going to be a desert person. First one of this is going to be female. So this is going to be a D class person, human. So we have a 9. We have a 12. Some point in time, I'm going to roll the bad off of these dice. And we're going to be like, why is this person a porter or a torchbearer? We are not there. But at some point in time, this will happen. Alright. That's not bad. 5 wisdom's not good, but that's not a bad character. I have played with worse, for sure. We have another desert female. There we go, getting a little bit better strength finally. There we go, 12. Liking this stats a little bit better. Part of the reason why the stats matter is you might ask them to do something, and they may have to make a stat roll. Also, if you ever have to promote a torchbearer into a fighter or something like that, so you can have someone that travels with the group and picks up a sword and does something, you want to kind of know what the stats are before you do it, and not be like, oh wow, this guy had 18, whatever strength, and we never even knew it. Yeah, I don't want that. I want to kind of have that figured out first. So this is going to be an islander male. 12, 11, got a 6, got a 13 finally. Got an 11. All right. That dude has better stats than some of my PCs do, actually. My cleric, the highest stat he has is a 12. And, yeah, highest con in the group I have is a 7. So this is going to be another female, which blew my mind that was the situation. This one is going to be an N-type human. So we have a 14. We have a 10. We have a 10. We have an 8. We have a 7. And yes, if you were wondering, I am using my left hand to type. And I'm able to use the numlock pad to get these numbers out there pretty quickly because I literally did data entry for a while. So, which is, you want a boring job, that would be a boring job. So it's my first black human. And we have a 10. We have an 8. We have a 12. Getting ahead of myself here. Got a 10. We have a 13. And we have a 10, 11. So this is going to be another female desert. Interesting. I kind of want a male desert. Just because I wonder if, my world, they have interrelations like that. That's not a thing. But it is a thing that would be, you know, I don't like having all of the same, if that makes sense. When I get into village design and I start talking about that, you will see interrelations born. 15. Ooh, that guy there would have been a good porter. So he may eventually become that. He would actually be a higher paid porter because of his constitution and strength. This is 11. Another desert female. $11. 15. There's a 12. Waiting for these dice to break off and just start rolling some 18s. They have not done it yet. We're looking at 8, 12. I mean, the porters, 2 of the porters actually have an 18 strength. And one of the porters, not only does he have an 18, but he has the best stats I've ever rolled, ever. This is going to be an A-type human. $13. $7. There's our 18. 18 intelligence. Interesting. Why would a smart human female... Interesting. That makes you want to know that story. Definitely makes you want to know that story. Decent con, too. $8. So this is going to be a female islander. So we have 11. We have a 14. 11. 11. 6. Ah, now you look like a PC. There we go, and a 12. This is going to be a male islander, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Make sure something real quick. Yeah, doing good. 11. 7. 11. 9. 6. 12. I do believe it's the first 18 on intelligence I've rolled so far. So we have a male demi-human. Number 2 is going to be a hill dwarf. With a terrible strength for a dwarf, as at least I always imagine him. But a classically terrible dexterity. Wow. We are really hating on the demi-humans today. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, it is what it is. They're Islander male. Okay, a 17 intelligence Islander male. That is hit the number button so it came off that. That's what the confusion was. 14, 8. So this is going to be in their A-type male. Okay, we got a decent strength. Decent dexterity. And it's going to be a little suspect at 6. Not terrible. Okay. That's not a bad dude. That dude's got playability for viability for a while. Okay, 6 is going to be black male. 11. 11. 10. 10. That's going to be 6. And that's going to be 10. So this is going to be another black male. 6 is black radius. Got a 7. Got a 10. Got an 8. Oh. First, 3 wisdom. Porters end up with 2, 3 con. And con is like one of their stats they really want to be good at. So this dude has a 16, no, 15. Constitution. And he has a 14 charisma. Our black male. 8. Oh, 18 dexterity. That is the first of those I know for sure. All right. And 8 intelligence. Wow, 6 wisdom, is that right? High con and high charisma here could be interesting. That's high. That is a 16. Well, that's not terrible. So we have this is an N-type male. We have a 14. It's good strength. terrible dexterity. We have a 7 intelligence. We have an 8 wisdom. We have a 14 con. So this guy would be paid more as a porter or doing other things. Not probably masonry because he has a terrible dexterity. And with a 15 charisma, he'd actually get really close to getting another bonus as a porter. Because no one wants to hear a porter complain. They want him friendly. Alright, this is going to be a female A-type. And she is going to be my last for a second. So we have a 5 strength. We have an 11 dexterity. We have a 14 intelligence. A 14 wisdom. A 5 constitution. And an 8 charisma. Okay. Now I'm going to figure out the pay. What would be good with a torchbearer? So this is a porter bonuses. I'm going to say that a torchbearer should get bonuses for having a constitution of 13 plus 2 for having a constitution of a 16. And not quite as important, I'm going to say that if they should have a plus 3 con for an 18 con. And the reason why that is not as important is because they're not carrying like heavy stuff. You're not trying to like force march them. You only need torches for so many hours, that type of stuff. Also, demi-humans are going to get +1. So I described that again before. Dwarves, because they have infravision, so the torch goes out, it's literally still glowing red. Same thing with elves. They're able to see it with their infravision now. They get relit. Bingo, bingo, bongo. Good to go. Halflings, because if you are out in the wild, you don't want your torchbearer to get lost or get caught. Halflings are extremely good out in the wild. Now, am I going to offer any sort of charisma modifier for this? And I think so. Probably at the same level. Probably at a 16 as well. Where you get those extra bonuses. Because everyone likes people that you just get along with. You just pay them better because they're easy to get along with. They don't cause drama. I'm going to give a -1 if they have a 4 through 6 con. I think it's 4 through 6. I think a -2 is only at 3. Depending, that will be what that is. And I'm actually going to give a -3 if they were walking around with a 3 con. Or, yes. And the reason why that is because for the exact opposite. That is an adaptation I did. The way the rules state is if you are, so when you're in a dungeon or when you're in the wilderness, you can move 5 turns in the dungeon before you have to rest. If you're in the wild, you can travel for 5 days before you have to rest an entire day. So a +1 con modifier allows a person to carry normal stuff and be able to go 6 turns and then get their full turn rest, or 6 days and get their full day rest. And if you have +2 con at 16, then you would have 7 days and then rest on the 8th. And if you had that 18, you'd be going 9 days resting on the 10th day. So there are some benefits. And the converse of that is if you have a -1 con modifier, instead of it being every 5 turns, it's every 4 turns. And if you have a -2 con modifier, it's every 3 turns versus every 5 turns. So you are literally waiting for the torchbearer to catch their breath while they walk through a dungeon. Very little need for that. All right, let me come back over here. We're going to go through this real quick. I don't have anything. This is a high elf, so his pay will be at scale 2. I'm going to go ahead and look at this one here. We have no negative con, so we're fine. It's a human, so that's going to be that. We have a higher con of 16, so that's going to be a 3. We have a human, even though it's strong, that part doesn't matter. We're looking at literally Constitution. Constitution is good. This one's fine. This one's going to get that slight bonus. This one's going to get that slight bonus. Good. Good. This one's going to be a 0, followed by a 0. Dwarf with a good con is going to be a 3. Human with the same con is going to be a 2. So 1, that's a 0. That's a, excuse me, that's not 1, that's a 2. 1, 2, and 1. All right, now let's go ahead and see which one am I getting. Number 8. So this will be the human. We'll have a human female, desert human female torchbearer with good strength, good con. Really a nice character. Intelligence is not great, but if you were to have to make a fighter type, she would be it. She'd be a great character for that. Okay, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and add this to the list of characters. I have got my porter now. I'm going to name these. When you see me come back, I'll go ahead and have these named up, and roll the 20th character again just to fill that spot, and we'll go from there. I will be doing future videos like this talking about different ones I have out there for like sages and masons and miners and all those type of things. So I think this would be very fun and create a big body of NPCs to work with. Later, as we develop personalities with these characters, I will do some testing to see what type of personalities and whatnot. If that torchbearer is willing to stand in the muck and the mire, which might be feces, just so that the party can have some torchlight, or if they're terrified of dragons and these type of things, or if they just have an iron will. And we'll go from there as we build this NPC maybe into something, or just have it fade off into whatever. And it's not meant to be a center feature. It's meant to be as much detail as needs to be displayed. And if it becomes something special, I have the framework and the bones to be able to make something special, if that makes sense. This time, the video is going to be on explorers, scout type of stuff, not the actual official explorers, but people that could become that. This is sort of the dexterity-focused role that one would experience with characters that are designed to be agile. So again, I'm going to kind of use this as a place to farm, to get characters that could become henchmen or whatever. These are going to fill dexterity-based needs, for example, like scouts, thieves, these type of things that the party might run into. And then, this would be a great way to draw henchmen that the party has run into in the past or during a game. That could be that way. So we're going to do the same things we did before. Let me go ahead and switch what I was doing so we can see this. Okay, as you can see here, I've got my stats here again. We're going to do the same thing where we have a D8 for what type of character it is, and then we're going to have a D6 for what gender it is, and then we'll do 2D6 for dexterity. So the first stat I'm going to roll is dexterity, then I'll roll all three of these together to determine its strength, and then we'll go that way. So we're going to start with dex and then move on, just for the simplicity of rolling dice though. So here's for the first roll, 2d6 plus 6 for dexterity, and we'll figure out the gender with the blue dice, and the d8 will be what race it is. We have 5 different types of humans, and we have 5 different types of demi-humans, but I'll get into that as we go. All right, so I rolled an 8. That's going to make this a desert. 1 is going to be female. All right, I have a 9 plus 6 is going to be 15 for dexterity. We're going to come over here for 3d6. Really extremely strong. That is awesome. We have a 17 strength. We have a 9 intellect, and we have a 15 wisdom, very unusual character. So the primary stat for an explorer also would be con, so we're going to be going dex con for figuring out higher quality to pay, and of course the humans are going to just be better because of that, so there's no bonus for that. Having a 16 charisma does help. There is no negative charisma modifier though, so we have a 9 here again. All right, and that's the first character, and I'm just going to kind of get through this hopefully fast, and we'll get these 20 NPCs rolled up. Okay, so again we have a female. This time it's a 3. That's going to be an A human, and then we have a 15 dexterity again. Oops, not 25. So we have 10. Oh my goodness. And low intelligence. Decent wisdom. Okay, well we have an incredibly high 17 for stamina. So with a 15 dexterity and a 17 con, that is going to be 1 level higher. And then with charisma, we have an 8. So 2 is going to be an A human, female. We have a 9 for dexterity. So even with this plus 6, it is possible to have a low stat, which I'm glad, because that shows the full breadth of these type of things. So we have a 10. This character stats are pretty low in general. So it's going to be an 11. So we have a 13. Interesting. We have a 15 charisma. So this is a 7. That's going to be an islander. It's going to be a male. Dexterity is going to be a 10. And then we will have a 9. We will have a 13. Now eventually I probably will blow the dice off of this thing, because that's how these things work in general. We just haven't really had that incredible roll yet. I mean, we have had a 17 con. That's pretty awesome. But we can do better. Alright, it's going to be a female. Number 3. That is an A-type human. Nope. 10 dexterity. We have an 8 strength. Come on. So that's going to be a 12. Ooh, we have an 18 wisdom. This is a character that probably will not remain in the scout realm of things. That's a 11. I don't know if it's going to ever be a cleric. That's not what I want to do. It's a straight 9. But I could see it doing something else. Okay, we have our first demi-human. We're going to end up with a 17 dexterity, and it's going to be a male. Now let's find out what this is. That's a 5. So 5, and the demi-human is a halfling. We have a 13 strength. That's not bad. I like this. Ooh, interesting. A 16. A 9. A 6. Wow, and a 4. Okay, well, listen. See, if you had a character like that, I don't know what you would do with that. I mean, I think that's probably about the quintessential guy with a bow, in my opinion. Stay alive. All right. Next one is going to be a male. It's a black human. So male. What's somebody do? Oh, I did have it right. No. Right. And then we're going to have a 9. And we're going to have an 11. And we have a 5. We have a 14. Then we have an 11 again. Then we have a 10. And we have our next character. Another demi-human. It's going to be a female. 8 is a mountain dwarf. Need to create a space here. One of the rare elusive mountain dwarves. Dun dun dun. Alright, so we have an 11. Alright, we have a 14. Eight. We have a 10. The big roll. Okay, that's nice. We have a 14. And we have a 6. Very interesting. Okay, so we have an A-type human male. Their strength is for the dexterity is a 15. Here's a 10. Here is a 4. Here is an 11. We have an 8. We have a 13. That could have been so much better. All right, we have a male number 6, which is going to be black again. And then we have a 13. A 14. 12. 7. We have 9. We have 10. Wow. Okay. Here we go. So we have a male A-type. Then we have an 18. 18 dexterity. First one of those. We have a decent strength with a 15. Lower intelligence. I almost said moderate, but that's not even moderate. We have a 12. That's moderate. And here's where I need the big con. That's big con. That is a 16. Only thing, there's only 2 steps. Oh, there could be 3. Let's see what his charisma is. Okay, yeah, we came very close to reaching the third one, actually. So this 13 makes it very close. If that 13 would have been a 16, there was only 2 steps I could have made it better. An 18 con and being a demi-human. But that is a very good character. Definitely the best one so far. All right, we have a male Islander, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. With a 13 dexterity. A 16 strength. A 14 intellect. Okay, a 14 wisdom. Bum, bum, bum. And a 13. That's actually a really good character, even though the con's a little unfortunate. We have a male N-type human. It's our first one. That's considering it's like 25% of the dice rolls. That's kind of crazy. Okay, so that's going to be an 11. No, 12. We have a 14. We have a 13. 14. That's a 16. Nice. Too bad the dex wasn't just a little higher. All right, that is a 13. Again, not a bad character. All right, we have a desert. This is a female. And then we have a 14 dexterity. We have a 10. We have a 15. We have a 14. No, I have a 9. I don't know why I'm saying 14. We have a 13. So we have a bonus there. Nice. All right, we have an 11. All right. We have a demi-human. This is going to be a male. 8 for another mountain dwarf. Very. Oh, so I got 2. I did that backwards. Dad, burn it. I was so excited to put down M-class dwarf that I did it completely wrong. Oh, we'll have a good chuckle at that later. 16 for the dexterity. Very nice. 10 for strength, so, you know, it's the reason why he's probably a scout. 8. Wow, okay. Well. No, that's terrible. With our 4 constitution. Not representing the dwarves well. Alright, so this would be a female A-type. Maybe a 14. We have a 17 strength. Interesting. We have a 12. Very nice. We have a 13. We have an 11. It's not bad. All right, we have a 5, which is going to be an N-type male. We're looking at a 9, 15. And we have an 11. That's a fat-fingered mistake. 7. 15. 14. Oh, we got a bonus there. That's good. So we got 14. All right, we have an A-type human female. We have, I don't know why math's hard this morning. We have 15. We have an 8. We have a 12. We have a 10. We have an 8. No, 7. Here's our 19th character. Alright, this would be an Islander female. Um, 11. We have a 10. A 9. Oof. 4. 12. We have a 10. Here's our last one. Come on, demi-humans. I want more. Ah, no demi-human. It's a male A-type with a 12 dexterity. We have a 10. I don't know if that's seeable. Move over here where I can see it better. Alright, we have a 13. We have a 5. 14. And we have a 12. Okay, guys, so this one here, I have rolled up a total of 20 different scout types. I don't have a plan for any of these specifically, but I wanted to be able to introduce the second half of what I'm considering common characters for the party. So, okay, guys, so this is Editor Zone coming back in here. I've changed my setup a lot over here where you can see things are a little bit different. I've actually moved my whole setup, so it's a different thing. A lot of changes occurred. One of the things I noticed when I was editing this video is I did not do the pay, and I wanted to go ahead and do that modifier real quickly. Bonuses we have is +1, of course, for Demi-Human, 16 Charisma, obviously. And then we have basically the same thing for high dexterity and con. So this character here is a human with a low con and a low charisma, so that's just going to be a 1. And I gotta figure out how I'm going to type all this as I go. I got stuff in my way. Alright, so next one here has a high con, high dexterity, not above a 16 dexterity, unfortunately, so that's just going to be a 2 because the charisma's not there. You have a 13 con, but not enough for charisma or for dexterity, so that's going to be a very high 1 per se. Same thing here, we're going to have a 1. Here we have mediocre stats again. We have 1. We have a 2 in base here because it's a halfling and none of the other stats cooperate, so that's going to be that. Again, looking at a 1, this is a bunch of mediocrely paid people at first. Dexterity is not high enough for a bonus. Con is, but not. This is actually a demi-human. So yeah, we are running into a not great start, shall we say. Oh, but here we have, nope, we only have, nope, just a 1. Not quite. I was looking at the dexterity and the charisma instead of the con. So again, looking at pretty low stuff. All right, we have an 18 dexterity, we have a 16 con, so there's +2. So it's going to be a 3. We have a 1. Just would not think this would be such a problem, but it is in this time. Oh, we have a 2 for high dex and high con. Dwarf, almost could be a 1, but the only parts I get negatives to are for Constitution, and that still caps at 1. Alright, so here we don't have any of the requirements. It would be a negative, but we are capped at 1. We have a 2 in this one, a 1 in this one, 1 in this one. Goodness, so close. Rare characters for the party to be able to obtain, in my opinion, should be clergy, cleric types, and magic user. They just should be more rare than thief types and, you know, rangers and those type of things. I mean, rangers can be pretty rare too, but you get the general idea. So what I've done is I've created a list of 20 to pull from. If I ever need to pull henchmen for like wanted or whatever, like I need more people, this would be a group I can pull from. I have my porters, which is a physical one as well. It's strength wise. So we have our dexterity one. We have our strength one. These would be used for scouting, guides, this type of stuff. So there is a reason for them to be in the universe or the world anyways. I'm not going to do one for intelligence or wisdom just because I have enough high wisdom, high intelligent characters to pull from to fill those roles without specifically making 20 characters with a high wisdom or high intelligence. So the sages and clerics and those type of things will come from these lists, even though they were first rolled up on the porter and scout roll, or maybe the torchbearer roll, because that just will happen. I want the more of the physical side of things. My next list I'm actually going to be rolling up on, though, is going to be something very similar to Torchbearers. It's just going to be a captives list. And I'm going to make it slightly more common for demi-humans to be rolled by changing it from a D8 to a D10 and putting a couple more pips in there for a couple more things, because there's some things that are going to be less common to be found as captives, and there'll be other things that will be more commonly found. I guess you could say less common, more common. You get the general idea. Okay, so we're going to do another one of these 20 lists for henchmen and whatnot, draw lists, whatever you want to call it. This one's going to be on captives. The last one I did was actually on scouts. The one before that was torchbearers and then porters and that type of stuff. And I talked in this scout one about sort of the thought process to how all of this kind of works and the general principles for why I wanted to have more physical characters versus mental characters and wise characters and social characters in the game. Okay, guys, so as you can see, I've got everything set up here. I've gone ahead and taken off of the pay portion. If the characters are actually in a thing where they're going to get paid, then we will figure that out. Then I am not going to be adding pay to a captives chart. Not doing that. All right, so I don't need a D8 for this one. I'm going to need a D10. And the reason why I talked about this briefly in the scout video, and it may have sounded a little misleading, what I was meaning by there's other races or other things that might be more commonly taken is I would like a little bit more demi-humans in the captives list. And there's monsters. So a 1 or a 10 is going to be demi-humans, and a 9 is going to be monsters. So, goblins, orcs, those type of things. We're just doing 3d6. So I'm going to do my D6, and a D10 for my gender roll and everything. Actually, I'm going to be doing it this way. So this will be my gender, and then these will be my stats. And we're going to do 3d6 straight across the board. All right, so it's going to be a male number 7. 7 is going to be an islander like it normally is. Helps if I'm in the right thing. Well, that's not what I want to do. All right, so we have a 10. We have an 11. We have a 12. Yeah, 13 here? No, we have a 12. No, we have an 11, excuse me. We get a 10 here. All right, we got this little ratio we're doing here. No, we got 13. What are we doing? Got 10. All right. Again, I feel like I can front load this first dice roll. Okay, so we got a 3 for male. Male 3 is going to be an A-type human. Oh, just in case anyone is wanting to know what an A-type and N-type human is, A is for ancient. They're the more elder race of humans. Doesn't make them necessarily better. Just means that they come from an older area. And N is for nomadic. Just so everyone's clear what that is. Well, this should be fairly quick, actually. Looks like it. That was going to be a 9. Ooh. Do I keep the way the dice rolls if they're bounced off, or do I keep it as it would? Okay. High, I keep it as a 9. Low, I keep it as what it ended up. Okay. So we are keeping it the way it ended up. Only reason I say it as 9 is monster, so. Okay, this is going to be another A-type human. This is going to be female. This is going to be a 12. This is going to be a 10. It's going to be a 9. It's going to be a 10. So in my BX game that I play every Wednesday, which I've been playing for many years now, several years, they went and did B2, and one of the characters they rolled was 19, I think, on the B2 module, which ends up being a dwarf with a very high strength. We named this dwarf Rusk Grat. And it was and is a popular, it's still alive, character with the group, mostly because of the incredible strength he has. An 18 strength, which in any edition of the game is nice. I'm hoping we get some stuff like that in here too. Maybe not strength, but some 18s would be nice here and there. I kind of have a dream. Paladins are possible. If I were to have a character role that had the stats to be able to be a paladin, and then they went through that journey of being a paladin later after being saved, I can't think of a better thing. So we have a demi-human male. Let's roll this. Actually, it's still a D8 roll for that. 3. So that's going to be halfway, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. All right, so we have a 13. It's an 11. We have an 8. We have a 12. So yeah, I think that'd be a great rag to riches story. That would do well. And it's, well, here's our 17. So halflings unfortunately cannot be paladins. So maybe next time. The next 17 maybe. Good stats there, by the way. So we have a female, number 8, which I don't know why I was having a problem with that one. That is my desert humans. One I've actually rolled quite a few of. This here is going to be a 16. We have a 7. We have a 9. We have a 9. Ooh, I thought it was going to be a 2. It turned out to be a 14, though, in the end, because it was a 6. Oh, here's my next 17. Do we have a female? Oh, look at that. Decent con, too. I don't know, off the top of my head, if paladins in this edition of the game. What in the heck? There we go. I don't know if you have to have a certain wisdom score in this version of the game. I know in like other editions they lower the expectations and raise the other expectations, and having a wisdom modifier is important. I've never played a paladin in original Dungeons & Dragons, so this is going to be a female A-type. And then we're going to have a 12. 8. So far, I see a lot of good torchbearers and whatnot that can come from this list, and a potential for a paladin. Their con's too high to be a PC. My PCs have terrible cons. It's almost a meme at this point. The highest constitution of the player characters was a 7. Another A-type human. For being a little random, it's not very random today. Ooh. Like that. That's terrible, I guess. Interesting. Like that. That's not bad. I like all of that. I mean, that's a worthy character right there. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily be a melee fighter, but it's a worthy character. All right, so we have 6, which is black, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So you have a female. Some might ask why I have 5 different types of humans. The reasoning for that is a personal one. Not everyone in my family is white, and I feel like it is a great thing to have their culture being represented when they play, if they play. And of course, I make games that I'd want to play or if they want to play. So I hope that if they ever played, there would be someone representing their culture, their heritage. And that's really all it is. It has nothing to do with politics or anything like that. It's just, my family is not all white, so that's my thoughts. All right. We have there. This is a male. This one is a, nope, this is a 10. I do mob. Not really. Oh, whew, pulled out that 10. I got that 7. Got that 12. And what type of character are you? One that carries a torch. Yep. Great torchbearer. No, I'm kidding. Actually, there's a great number of things this character could be. But being something like a torchbearer, while a joke is partially true, I guess. They also could just be a craftsman, the guy that goes works at the blacksmith or whatever, you know. There's a dozen things this character could be doing with those stats. It's just not adventure, probably. Those are perfectly normal stats, in a matter of speaking. This one's got averagely high, but still normal. Nothing abnormal about those stats, I should say. Ooh, we have a demi-human male. Roll a d8 to see which one. 3, that's going to be a halfling. Yep. And then we have a 11. We have an 8. We have a 9. We have a 12. We have a 10. We have a 12. We have a female A-type. We have a 16. Very nice. 6. Character. Low stats are oftentimes just character. Especially when you have low stats next to high stats. If you just have low stats and blah, then you have an NPC. Decent con. Yeah, I mean, that could be something. I have player characters with multiple low stats like that. All right, so we have a male. We have a monster race. So I'm going to roll this d10 again. It's going to be a 9. A 9 on the monster race is a bugbear. Bugbear, I'm going to give +1 strength. Ogres, I'm going to give +2 strength, potentially. Capping at a 19, though. So this would be a 7, 8 strength. Well, he's not very strong. We have a 4, so not very agile. We have the smartest bugbear ever. We have the bugbear king, apparently. Or the reject, that they don't accept this king because he's too smart and too weak to lead. That could be an interesting. Like I said, low stats next to high stats are interesting. Maybe he's being held captive by bugbear. That would be ironic. All right, we have a female, excuse me. They're black. We have an 11. We have a 10. We have an 11. We have a 14. Decent stats, not terrible. I mean, 10's the low, that's not bad. Yeah, I mean, it's just not a very memorable character, to be honest. Probably. What makes it memorable has to be something different. So it's going to be a male demi-human. Eight. That's going to be a mountain dwarf. Okay. And then we have an 11. And we have a 9. There we go. We got a 15. Dwarfs can't be magic used in this game, unfortunately. But that's not the end of the world. Pathetically weak con for what I would consider a dwarf, but, you know, appropriate charisma. So we have a 5. That is it's an N type. We have a male N type. And that'd be an 8. If you remember, the N types were nomadic. So that's what that is again. We got a 12. We have a 6. 10. I have a 13. Ooh, interesting. We have an 18 charisma. See, something like that makes me think noble. Not necessarily a good noble either. Okay, we have a demi-human, female. 3 is going to be halfling. Oh yeah, that's not the word. Let me have an 11. We have a 7. We have a 9. Wow. Okay. We have a 10. We have a 9. I could see something like that actually being more of like a cursed creature being drained. There's some obvious references one could pull from that. I'm not going to do that, but it is something like that would be interesting, I think. I'd have to justify it somehow in the long run, though. Like maybe it was a curse or whatever that could not be ever healed or fixed. It just was, you know. I don't know. Oh, we have a very wise captive. Okay, let's get me a decent con so we can make a nice cleric out of this. There we go. Got ourselves a nice con. Decent charisma, maybe. Ooh, that's not bad. I mean, it's not a modifier, but it's not low. It's an interesting character. That negative on the dex, though, hurts. Alright, so we have a male 7, which is Islander, if I remember right. Yes. And then we have a nice 16 strength. This is my last one. About didn't notice that. About the 21st one just for free. We about got bonus content. Out of all those characters, I only got one bug. One man. That's unfortunate. Almost makes me want to roll a d12 and make, you know, 3 of those spots monster races. Okay, so we have 7, 12. We have a 12. We have a 6 and 5 is 11. And we have an 11. Okay, guys, so I've gone ahead and made 20 more characters. They're all going to be captives. I don't know how often these are going to go. I'm going to have sort of like... I'm going to have captives kind of get rolled through. Not probably as much as I would like a porter. You know, characters that really don't fit the role. There are some in here, like the 18 wisdom. I could see that being utilized in other ways, or maybe them being able to convince them to let them leave. Same thing with that 18 charisma or the high charisma. Those are the ones that are probably going to be able to get out of this. The ones with lower stats, they're probably going to be a captive until they're released. And we'll just kind of go from there. So I think every now and then I'll pull out some of the super high stats and I'll probably roll again. And then we'll come up with a story for maybe how they got free. Like an 18 strength, for example. Maybe they misunderstood their strength and allowed them to break the restraints and they fled. Maybe they left with certain other ones and then that created a rebellion, or that created a group that got away together. Maybe the party could run into that group while they're in the middle of fleeing. I don't know. We're going to look into that, and maybe I'll drop some scenarios and throw them on the encounter chart as a possibility. And then when they are rolled, instead of having it be like this month, that month, whatever, or that quarter, this quarter, it would be when the party rolls this thing. That is the day they broke free and they tried to escape. I think that would be something very cool. So I will do something like that, and then we'll go from there. All right, guys, so the next one, I'm going to go ahead and apply some names just like I did in the other videos, and then we'll go ahead and do the next group, and we'll add filler roles as we need filler roles. For right now, though, I think we got plenty. This gives us 80 different NPCs rolled. I think that's a great start. All right, guys, see you guys in the next video. for our next segment.